Good morning. I'm Mayor Pro Tem Kathy Tovo. Mayor Adler, as many of you know, Mayor Adler and Councilmember Renteria are out of town today on city business. They are leading a delegation from this city to Mexico. Robert Runhell, and his topic for today is a claim with the police department. You will be followed by Michael Smith talking about safety concerns on 6th Street. Welcome, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Ranko. I want to thank y'all for having us here. This is Pete Hernandez. I'm an attorney with the Carlson Law Firm, and as you may know, in February of this year, a unanimous federal jury here in Austin decided that an Austin police officer, Jesse Sanchez, violated Pete's Fourth Amendment rights when he tackled him, used excessive force against Pete back in June of 2012. This is the case that happened down in the South Park Meadows parking lot of the Walmart. As a result of this, Pete had $330,000 in medical expenses. The city, prior to the trial, offered $50,000 to settle the $330,000 in medical expenses. The unanimous federal jury in February awarded Pete $877,000. Pete has been declared disabled by the Social Security Administration as a result of that incident and those injuries. So why are we here today? We've sent letters to the council, to the city, trying to get some resolution, and we've encountered silence. No response to any of our letters. We have a lot of people on this council and in leadership positions with the city who talk a great game about police accountability, but when it comes to walking the walk, they fail. This council has failed to inspire APD to be accountable, to change its ways, to be better. And I'm not just talking about an isolated incident. As you probably know, back in 2008, the U.S. Department of Justice sent out letters, and another one in 2011, to the city complaining and requesting modifications and improvements to the city complaint process and to the internal affairs process as far as investigating complaints. How's that working? Let's see how it worked for Pete. He was assaulted in June of 2012, and here's a little insight into the process. When an officer uses force against a citizen, the officer is required to fill out a report about that use of force. It's coded as an 8400 report for APD. It's electronic. The officer is required in the report to say why the force was used and why it was necessary. Here's the interesting part. When the officer undertakes this task, there's a drop-down menu on the computer. And guess what? The options that drop down in this menu, they are all only valid uses of force. An officer for APD couldn't out themselves for making a mistake if they wanted to. They can only pick a reason for the use of force that would make the action valid. Let's juxtapose that with what happened to Pete when he went to the office of the police monitor to make his complaint. Pete was handed a blank sheet of paper and instructed to write down whatever violations of police policy he wanted to complain about. No help, no guidance, no access to police policy. So what happened? He wrote down 3 complaints. 2 of them were ignored by the OPM and IA because he didn't properly state a policy violation. The 3rd was a complaint about excessive force. IA claims they reviewed that, yet from reading the IA report, which I would invite you to do, there's no discussion of what was done. There was a conclusory statement that the use of force was reasonable. I beg you, look at the videos, read the officer reports, take note of the inconsistencies. May I have 30 more seconds?
If you would please conclude your thought.
I will, yes ma'am. Read the IA report, then ask yourself, why don't the citizens of Austin trust APD? They don't trust APD because there's no transparency, there's no accountability. The IA report blessed the behavior of Officer Sanchez, yet a unanimous federal jury found that there was not only policy violations, but constitutional violations that required surgery. The city has failed to hold the department and its officers accountable on too many occasions. There's been no apology for Pete, no offer to settle the verdict, no acknowledgement of wrongdoing, just silence. This case hasn't even been on the council's agenda all year. I've checked all of the work days, and there's been nothing. That's please, people are being damaged. I thank you for your time.
Councilmember Summers.
Just a fact. When was this, the federal jury you mentioned?
February of 2016.
It was February
It actually
2016.
concluded the day that David Joseph was killed.